4 episodes of a new reality comedy in the vein of the Joe Schmo Show were just released on a little-known network called Freebie, Amazon's spin-off to Amazon Prime, where people can log in and watch whatever they want for free.
Yeah.
As long as you're okay with the commercials. It just reminds me of Hulu in its earlier days.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so what we did for this show, since it's a little peculiar, is we did 5 pros. We each created 5 pros and 5 cons from what we saw in the first 4 episodes. And then by the end, we will consider our ratings.
Yeah, right. Give our verdict. So do you
give
want
our verdict to the jury duty show.
Do you want me to start off with the pros?
Yeah, and we'll just compare them. So you go first.
Okay, so my first one is I like the idea, and even though it has been done kind of in the Joe Schmo before.
Now maybe you should describe what the Joe Schmo Show is in case anybody isn't unaware.
Right.
It ran for like 3 seasons, but through the course of like 10 years.
What they did was they take a random person and they put them into this fake reality show where
they're unbeknownst to them.
Right, and everyone around them is just like a paid actor. They all have their different kind of traits to them. I think you said that Kristen Wiig was even in a season of it.
In her earlier years.
And they make it the most ridiculous show that they possibly can. I remember Lorenzo Lamas was in like a season of it.
That was, I think, the latest Joe Schmo Show season, which came out still like 10 years ago. But the premise is pretty simple. The way that they loop some random person into this is that they have audition tapes for like reality TV series, right?
Yep.
And they take that into consideration. They try to find someone who has a high threshold for crazy, right? Who won't go crazy themselves if they see people doing crazy things. Mm-hmm. And so then they enlist them into a show saying that everybody is a contestant for something, or in this case, an applicant in jury duty. And then just have hijinks ensue and craziness happen, and see if that person is able to figure out that they are in a reality show.
Yeah, but like usually with the Joe Schmo Show, by the end of the season, the person got money, I think, like anyways.
Yeah, this guy's going to win. This Ronald guy is going to win whatever.
Something. We don't really know. But the idea and the premise really got me like excited for this TV show, especially when I saw the trailer for it. And I think that they delivered, basically. I mean, we have kind of a ton of different jurors, and like each of them have their own type of trait. There's like 13 main ones, and even have James Marsden show up kind of out of nowhere.
Sure, yeah. So it starts with him going to regular jury summons. And you did that recently, right? Like you did it a couple of years ago. You're supposed to do it every year and a half is when you get called?
I think the last time I got jury duty, my group number that I got in the mail wasn't called. But before that, I remember I kept on, they kept on contacting me.
I have never once, and I've been called like 10 times. Like, not called, but they issue the letter, right?
Yeah, the letter.
Every time I call, at the last second, they say that jurors don't have to come in. I've never actually had to go to the courtroom.
Yeah, see, for me, I did have to go to the courtroom, but apparently there was only, 3 cases that they had to go through. I was never, interviewed to be on the cases, and that's not usually normal. They said that when I was there originally, it was, 7 or 8 cases that they usually have to go through in a day. But I remember I basically watched, half a movie that they had on the TV screen. I had an iPad with me where I was doing Sudoku or word cross or something, and then after that I left and I got paid.
You basically speak the same experience that most people have when they go. They don't get picked, and then they do the raffle and they find out who actually is going to attend the actual trial, and then from there they whittle people off, the prosecuting and the defense time. But that's just jury duty in total. Also, I realize now that 10 is a high number. I think it's probably more like 4 or 5 times that it's happened to me. I'm not 40 some years old. Okay. So my first pro for this show is that it's free. So, you don't have to have cable, you don't have to have a subscription to anything, and it's easily accessible. So if you can handle the commercials, which are only a minute 30, that's a really cool thing. But I'll do my second pro now because you did one first, right? Mm-hmm. And the second one is that it's a familiar premise, kind of like what you were saying, but it's also somewhat unique because the Joe Schmo Show was always about the reality premise that they were competing for something. So when you continually say winner by the end of it, Ronald's not winning anything. He's probably going to get a paycheck for being part of a show that he wasn't even aware he was a part of. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they're not gifting or taking people out. There's no survivor here. There's no voting.
Right.
Nothing like that. It's all about him and seeing his reactions to just ludicrous things happening. And because it's centered around jury duty, kind of like a 12 Angry Men type thing, but just with the unique personalities, the characters are outrageous, but they're finding that line and they're not crossing it quite yet where it becomes totally obvious.
I think it was either the creator or the producer of the show said that they wanted to give like a positive spin on jury duty, because usually it's just seen as so drab and people don't want to do it. They were kind of flipping
does not make me
here.
want to attend jury duty any more than I already.
Well, they want to do a positive thing. My second pro was James Marsden. There's a difference between playing an absurd version of yourself in something like Curb Your Enthusiasm, or even playing like an absurd version of yourself in real life whenever you maybe do like, I don't know, a late night show prank where like you're acting like maybe a dick for a couple of minutes and then you reveal, oh no, I'm actually like a good actor or something like that. But when you have to continually put up the front of being a dick, and especially you have
he's having so much fun.
And Ronald knows who James Marsden is. He even says that he stars in like one of his favorite movies, but to continually have to do that, and I think it's for a week. I think that's the timeline that is for the premise of this show. I mean, like that, I think he deserves credit for that, because he's able to play it really well.
Well, I think it was just oddly convenient that James Marsden happened to be someone he was aware of, Ronald was aware of, but couldn't place. Because a lot of people would know James Marsden and be a little starstruck, but like, and then other people wouldn't know him at all. But this was like the perfect.
He found the Goldilocks
zone, exactly, where it's like he knew of James Marsden when he Googled him. And he was like, oh, he's in one of my favorite movies. But also, like, apparently he wasn't a fan of Sonic, and that just made it extra funny. Also, your point that just James Marsden in general has a great sense of humor about himself. Recently, Curb Your Enthusiasm, or sorry, not Curb, Party Down.
Yeah, right.
Where he's playing just a heightened version of his own like ego and stuff. That's perfect. He's also playing stupid in this. And that was also my third pro. So your second pro.
Oh, so you're kind of piggybacking off of it. Okay, yeah.
For sure. It's as close to an A-lister as I think they could probably get for a show like this, too.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine, like, Robert De Niro agreeing to do this.
Well, the thing that I find funny is that, like, even though it is only for a week, he plays up the fact that he's such a big movie star. He's having to, like, read scripts when he's inside the courtroom. And I think
his joke delivery is pretty good, too.
I think the fact that he's playing, like, an alternative, so he's not having to listen to the actual jury session that's going on.
They just make him out to be a prick.
Yeah,
full of himself. Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of the 4 episodes is when like they kind of turn to him during the jury session going on, and he's just like drawing a naked lady, like kind of out of nowhere.
He's drawing her.
He's drawing the person who's like who's questioning the witnesses.
No, he's drawing the person who is suing the defendant.
But it was, I think I think that he does a great job with it.
Sure.
Are you done with that point?
Well, no, I was also going to highlight some of the other jokes that he made. Like, at first he was trying to get out of jury duty, so he paid the paparazzi to come in and try to make it seem like having him there was too much of an inconvenience.
Yeah.
And then later on, when finally, Ronald recognized him and said, I loved you in Sex Drive, you were great in that. And he was like, did you buy it? Like, I would have bet $1 if you bought the tape or whatever.
I think it was for Sonic, but yeah.
Yeah, but then he comes back and he said he did buy the Sex Drive DVD or whatever it was. And so, it's just the idea that they would care that much about their money. And then later on, the arm wrestling or when he's reading the script and trying out. It's so ludicrous, also funny. That's definitely a third pro. My fourth pro is that this is an easy binge. We went through 4 episodes super quickly. It was like the opposite of what I went through when I watched the Grease show, and I felt like there was just so much into the 2 episodes. I watched 50 minutes each. This thing is like 20, 30, and you just knock them out like nothing.
I have the same type of pro for that. I think it's entertaining, it's funny, and most of all, it's short. Like, I mean, you can get through this thing really easily, and it's not like even something you necessarily have to pay attention to 100%. You could be doing something aside and like tuning in every once in a while. But I agree.
So that's the fourth pro for you?
That's my fourth pro, yeah.
All right, fifth pro is that the jokes, they don't all work, but the ones that do. And I'm not just talking about the James Marsden one. The CGI model or the video that they show in the courtroom where the one lawyer feels like he has to compete with the prosecuting lawyer. And so he comes in there, he screws up. And then later on, he shows on his tablet the makeshift like auto design or whatever, auto 3D design.
It was like a Minecraft thing, but it was definitely different.
It's the first like stage of when you like try to make a movie into something. Like that would be what Thanos looked like in step 1 of a billion. And it was just insanely funny. And then the mannequins where the guy popped up, you see that in the trailer. They do use a lot of trailer moments for their humor. And then the boner pick. So one of the jurors,
Noah.
Yeah, Noah thinks that his girlfriend may be cheating on him. at first he thinks that the trip that they went on was with all girls, but then this guy named Cody is there, and the picture they have of Cody looks like Henry Cavill, but he's clearly got like a huge erection in his pants, and that makes him call his girlfriend. And we're gonna find out what happens in that later.
It's so ridiculous. I do like how you're able to see kind of the rest of the jurors, and this is, I guess, a pro that I didn't have written down, but their chemistry between one another, because like when Noah has that picture that's being shown to everyone, it seems like all of the jurors kind of like hone in on that and talk about that.
They are all in character all the time.
Yeah, and I guess that's really a good pro for the show as well. Whenever Ronald, the main guy who is the one that doesn't know he's in a reality show, is being pranked and he's able to laugh, that is always, I think, one of the things that the show likes best, because it means that they're actually doing their job. Like, there are times where characters, they'll have, like, a side panel of all of them in a room, and the character will try to be, like, describing why they decided to do the ridiculous stunt that they did, and you can just see Ronald smiling and laughing, and that's, like, I think one of my favorite parts of the show as well. It's also very light and not meant to be taken seriously at all. This is as close to, like, Murderville, aside from the guests knowing that everything is fake as well.
That goes back to the easy binge, because you don't even have to be watching every single episode. You can jump into episode 7 probably and still get the premise of it, because it tells you right at the beginning, and it feels like there's a new setup for every joke every episode. Like the last episode, the 4th episode, was all about a field trip that the jurors took to the actual facility where the crime happened, and they all had to figure that out. So like, It doesn't matter that you watched one episode versus the other. And then let's just transition over into our cons and start bashing the thing.
Okay. One small con I have, and this isn't even part of my top 5 cons, is that they do, like you were saying at the beginning of every single episode, always have the same text and like previously. And I feel like anyone who's going to be watching this show, I may be wrong, but I feel like a ton of people are going to be binging it. Like, I feel like you don't need to have the previously every single time along with the same text. I think we kind of get it after the first episode. It takes
like 2 seconds to show that text.
That being said, that's why it's not really like a huge con of mine, but my first real con is that it just feels like it's too ridiculous. Like, I mean, even for me, the suspension of disbelief, I understand that when you're in that situation it might be a little different, but it's almost like there's such crazy stuff that happens, especially in the 4th episode where you have the judge show up.
Remember what I said, these people live in LA, I think, and so like the tryout part of Ronald's audition tape or whatever as a reality contestant is his threshold for craziness. So he probably just thinks this is normal because he's got a higher than normal threshold.
But like, it's even shown in the trailer at one point where he's like, I think that this is part of a reality show. And I feel like even at episode 4, when he's like having to ask James Marsden to pay $1,500 and he's seeing all the crazy stuff go on, like they have that one guy get injured or fake injury in episode 2, and just everything. I feel like at some point, even the person who's willing to give them the most room would realize, no, this is fake. Like,
okay, I agree with you. They should have been caught by now, because the personalities are just one level. There's nothing beyond that. There's no depth to these people that he's around, and you would think day after day after day hanging out with them, being stuck in this like small jury like session with them, that he would be able to scout that out.
Yeah,
you know, that he would just and then also the judge escorting them to the field trip, that if I was called for jury duty and they said we're leaving the courtroom to do something all together, I would immediately know that it was fake.
Yeah.
There's no sense in the jurors going to the scene of the crime and then scouting and doing evidence work themselves. So it's almost insulting to his own intelligence. I agree. That he wouldn't figure that out.
That, like, going to a different place provided, I thought, some good humor for
hilarious.
The TV show. But the crazy events and the frequency of which they happen, I just feel like Ronald at some point, like really close, like even by that point would be like, oh no, this is completely fake.
Yeah, and that transitions to my second con, which is Ronald himself. Why in the Joe Schmo show, it's always just like a humdrum dude who's, again, crazy tolerant with the things around him, but it's always just some guy, you know? Like, Ronald is just a dude, and he's nice, and he's neutral, but there's, like, nothing... They even barely get, like, responses to his when things happen. Yeah. Like, sometimes his eyes go a little bit big, he smiles, he tries to, like, calm things down, but, like, he doesn't have a lot of expressions that he goes through.
Even when he's, like, isolated to a camera or he's standing next to one of the jurors, it doesn't seem like he's actually providing that much.
Given he is the only one who's actually surprised by it, like, everybody else should know what to expect or have an idea of what they're to expect. Like, that's a lot to hinge your entire show on, and just to see, like, a little glimmer of entertainment in his own eyes. It's so weird that, like, that's where they go with it. I would like to see someone other than, like, a Ronald type get the position. Someone who was a little less on it, or more on it, someone who's maybe even like super smart. They figure it out and then they still try to trick them.
I guess that kind of factors into my thing as well, which is the fact that the show gets a little long in tooth at certain points. I found it. I found like
even when I was annoyed by the show, it ended so quickly.
No, like
I didn't care.
when Ronald is giving his expressions, like you can especially see in episode 2 after the guy fakes injury and and you can just see that he's kind of done with the day. That was me some of the time where it was just like okay, I kind of get the joke here. They're either predictable or even the awkward situations that they're put in. For some of them aren't really that awkward in the end, and I'm just like, can we like move it on to something more interesting, please? Even though this show is 20 and 30 minutes and it's kind of short, I did sometimes feel like it was longer than it needed to be.
Well, it's childish, immature humor, it's reality series. That was kind of my 5th con, but my third con is like the real con of the show for me, and that's because they haven't even done it that way in the Joe Schmo show. They have the actors themselves around Ronald stay in character and do separate interviews when Ronald isn't in earshot, and they always maintain that they are the people that they're pretending to be, which is dumb. It doesn't make any sense. I would much rather they give their honest expressions and opinions about what is happening, or at least give us some insight as to like where they're going with stuff so that we have an idea of how they're manipulating Ronald. It feels like they're doing it to be nicer to Ronald, so it feels less manipulative as a show. But at the same time, I'm just befuddled whenever they switch over to camera, and I feel like I'm watching a script of like a Parks and Rec or Office thing, but like a really worse version of it, because they're just talking about stuff we've already seen as if they believe it. But that these are actors and they could easily just be like, wasn't that crazy? Like, I just did this to Ronald and he was cool with it. Like, that would be so funny to see, don't you think? So that's my biggest con.
I agree with that, and I knew that con was coming, which is why I have it as my number 4. I just feel like there's no need for them. It does provide a couple of laughs whenever they like say a funny line and it goes to commercial break or something like that. But yeah, it just seems like I feel like it's almost
treating us like we're stupid.
They almost did it though. I feel like because they knew what the Joe Schmo show was and they didn't want to copy it too much. But I think that's what made the Joe Schmo show so good, was that you were able to see them literally talk about the pranks that they were either doing or the mess ups that maybe the main person didn't catch.
But I think they separated themselves enough when they decided to center it around a jury trial rather than a reality show.
Yeah, I think that the person who has the best side panels, though, again, is James Marsden, because it seems like that's actually how he is. But again, that's going back to my pros.
I feel like they write extra better lines for him, though. Like, or when they gave him a script to pretend read and just playing that type of actor is just so funny.
I was going to do mine. So there are so many jurors. This is my number 4. There are so many jurors to keep track of, and I feel like we haven't gone through all of their traits yet, or there are some that are definitely, I know way more, such as like Noah or the one Jeannie, I think.
Noah's the guy they went into hard, didn't they, last time with his girlfriend?
Yeah, like the Cody thing, or like I understand them, but there are other people like even Pat or Ross who I feel like we haven't gotten a good sense of at all, and we're already halfway through the story.
I don't think we have to know all of them, but I do agree, because my 4th point is that they should do like a 12 Angry Men setup where they actually are discussing the trial and having holdouts.
Yeah.
Because he's like the main juror, I forgot what, the foreman, right?
Yeah.
And so he has to come to like bring everybody together. So I feel like they could spend a good 2 episodes on the fact of them trying to come to a decision and everybody having these random like spouting things. That's where you could script it and just see how he responds to the ridiculousness of what these people are saying to him, and then trying to mend whatever frustrations they have to come to like the final. I think that would be hilarious. So they might actually go there. We just haven't seen it yet. All in all, though, let's just give our final ratings. I would say that it passes. I would say 6 out of 10.
I actually gave it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
So I gave it a little bit higher. My last con was just the fact that I feel like all the season could be released. I didn't see the reason why you had to release 4 episodes. And then I think they're doing a week after each one. Because, again, like I said, it's a little long in tooth. But yeah, I think that the show definitely has a ton of humor in it. It's jam-packed with jokes. And it's gotten pretty good reviews.
It has not. I disagree.
Well, it's gone on IMDb.
From what I saw, it has a 1 out of 5 on Guardian.
You were looking at a different jury duty show.
I was not.
Oh, no, it has a 2 out of 5 on Guardian. But it has like an 8.6 on IMDb, and even Roger Ebert gave it a positive review. And the whole, click on the thing.
Okay. I'm clicking on it.
2 out of 5.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah, 2 out of 5.
But on the picture, it looks like a 1 out of 4.
Yeah, I know. And to be fair, the Hollywood Reporter called it a bad show as well, so maybe more mixed reviews. And
it's been fun so far.
Yeah.
And James Marsden, I think, just makes it worth it.
Yeah, no,
and
I
I
agree.
do kind of want to see what happens to Ronald when he finds out, ultimately. I guess that's another pro. Like, I do want to see that ultimate reveal.
I think that's the thing that, most people want to see.
I just don't want the sappiness of, like, the thing where the wife comes in and, like, the whole kid, and he has kids, and, like, he's a war vet, and it's like, oh my God, Ronald.
I don't think any of that
Get it.
has been said.
Well, every reality TV series has that. Even The Voice has that before they even go out and step on stage. All right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.